All right, this video is recording. Sweet. So I'm here recording this video with Rochelle from Forever Learning French. So thanks for coming on my channel, Rochelle.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. So, Rochelle and I have sort of been friends for, I don't know, about a year or so, I'd say. And, we both like languages. We've both been learning French. And, and Rochelle has a channel called Forever Learning French, which I will link to in the description below here. And yeah, I think this is the first time we've ever actually spoken, though.
Yes,
correct?
It is.
Right. We've talked a lot on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. But yeah, this is our first ever actual conversation. So it's our what do they call that on Facebook? Friendship Day. Right?
Yeah.
Friends. No.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So just have some questions here to go through, just in regards to language learning and your journey learning French. So, what made you interested in learning French in the first place?
Well, I wanted to be able to speak to French natives, and I love French music, but I wanted to be able to understand it. And French films and French YouTube videos without subtitles. I want to be able to do that. And also, now I would really like to learn French to develop my yarn business and be able to speak to like yarn store owners in Canada and Paris and different places like that. And also to be able to read knitting patterns, crochet patterns, and sewing patterns in French. That would be really cool.
Is that a common thing for them to be written in French?
Yes, more and more patterns are being written in multiple languages. It used to be they were all in English, but a lot of them are being written in French, and especially sewing patterns. There's a lot of French sewing pattern companies coming out now, and so it's helpful because not all of them have an English version.
Yeah.
So most people have to like translate every single thing, but I would love to be able to just read it and make whatever I want.
Makes sense. Yeah. That's really fun.
Yeah.
I have another Instagram that's dedicated entirely to sewing and crocheting as well. And I was following, when I first started it, I'm only following like maybe 2 or 3 other accounts. And I first started following some other people who are into crocheting, and they make these really cool amigurumi, like stuffed animals and some really cool crochet projects. But everything is in some language that I don't know what it is. Yeah. So it's like it's cool. I can watch and like follow along, like watch what they're doing, but I can't understand anything they're saying. Right. Which is kind of funny, But so you have, do you have another YouTube channel that's just dedicated to like crocheting and crafting?
Yes, I do. Yes, it's called Queen's Yarn Boutique, and it's I started in 2015, and it's all about knitting, crocheting, dyeing yarn, and that's like that's my small business, my side hustle. I would love it to be my full-time business, but small business, it's tough. So yes, Queen's Yarn Boutique, that's my other YouTube channel. So I've had that going on, I guess, 6 years. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I actually forgot about that, but now that I think about it, I will put that in the description, link to that channel in the description down below too.
Thanks.
So how long have you been learning French?
Wow. Okay. So I started learning French in high school, and I grew up in a very rural country area. And so we only had, like, when we were in middle school, we chose our prerequisites and everything for high school. And the only choices you had were Latin, Spanish, and French. And everybody was taking Spanish. So I decided to take Latin. Well, when I got to high school, the teacher for Latin, I don't know what happened, but she just wasn't there. So I had a choice between French and Spanish.
Oh.
And I'm the type of person that always goes against the grain. Everyone was taking Spanish. They thought it would be easy. And I was like, well, I'm going to take French just to be different. And I stuck with it for 4 years, and I loved it. But of course, after high school, life happens. I went to college. I had this crazy course load in college, so I didn't take any French classes or anything like that. I did a little bit of self-study. And then probably in 2018, I decided to pick it back up and get serious with it again.
Yeah, that's very similar to my story with Spanish, actually. So I did go along with the grain. I was like, I'm going to learn the language that more people speak. But yeah, I first started studying Spanish in 8th grade. And then, I studied Spanish every year in school and couldn't really speak Spanish by the end of like 6 years of study, And, that's kind of like why I was motivated to make my channel, is for people like me who thought that just going to class would be the right way to learn a language. And then you graduate and then you're like, well, what do I do now? Right.
Exactly. And another thing for me is growing up in a rural area, I grew up in a lot of farmland and things like that. Everyone was saying that Spanish would be more useful and that French would be a waste of time. So I'm like, oh, really? Okay. I'm going to take French.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like you got to go against what they expect you to do. No, I like that. I mean, I speak Esperanto, so
right.
So I'm not in any way judging someone for speaking a language that's not the most commonly spoken. So how have your methods of learning French changed since you first started learning, if they have changed, or do you more or less do the same thing?
Oh, they've changed a lot because I started with Duolingo just to kind of see if I really wanted to stick with it, because I realized that, it had been a long period of time between high school and 2018. But what I realized is that I still remembered a lot, or, I remembered enough where I was like, okay, am I going to keep doing this? Like, can I still pick this back up? And what I realized by doing Duolingo is that I still remembered quite a bit. And I was like, I cannot let this go to waste. So I did Duolingo, but of course, as great as that app is, you do outgrow it. You cannot depend on it.
Yeah. 100%.
And so I don't know, that app had a hold on me. It was kind of hard to let it go. It was so hard to uninstall it, but yeah, I did. I finally did. And I moved on to that little owl is, he's tough. But I moved on to Pimsleur, and I started listening to Coffee Break French every morning before going to work. I really like Coffee Break French because I kind of felt like the student. I think her name was Anna or something like that. I felt like her. And so I would listen to Coffee Break French on the way to work every morning. And then I would listen to Pimsleur in the afternoon while I was doing dishes or crocheting, kind of like a passive thing. I tried Asimil. I really didn't stick with it. I didn't really gel with Asimil, but I'd like to give it another shot. So I'm doing that. So yeah, it's definitely changed. I listen to French music every day. I watch a lot of French Netflix and French cartoons. So yeah, I'm in deep.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I have always had sort of mixed feelings about Duolingo. I shouldn't say always. At first, I really loved Duolingo. I was like, man, this is the best. It's like Rosetta Stone, but free. And then, I used it for kind of on and off for a few years, and I started to do some more research on better study methods. And then I'm like, all right, so Duolingo has its pros and cons, just like every language method. It's certainly not the best there is, but at the same time, it is free and it's definitely the most widely used language learning platform out there. And I don't know if I would have gotten into like Esperanto and French, honestly, if there hadn't been an easily accessible course that was free and just like able to teach you the very basics of a language right away. So, you know, as much as a lot of people talk smack about Duolingo, it has its place, you know, it has its purpose.
Yeah, you know, one of the biggest things that I love about Duolingo, and this isn't with every language, but it's the Duolingo stories.
Oh yeah,
That was
really nice.
Yes, that was a game changer for me. That kind of introduced me into stories. I didn't realize how beneficial it would be to listen to stories. So that was a big help.
Yeah, that those stories, reading, listening, comprehensible input, that is a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that the biggest help has been having an italki tutor once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, italki is nice too. And yeah, those Duolingo stories are probably the most useful part of Duolingo now, ever since they came out with those. So you mentioned watching some Netflix and what, YouTube videos. What kind of stuff do you like to watch in French?
Okay, well, recently I've been watching Lupin.
My wife and I are watching that right now.
It's great. It's so great. It is. And you know, it's hard for me because once again, I'm one that kind of goes against the grain. Just because everyone else likes the series does not mean that I'm going to like it. Like, I will give it a shot, but if I don't like it, I'm just not going to watch it, you know? I watched Emily in Paris and I liked it, but I was kind of disappointed because I was hoping there would be more French. And it was weird that the French people just started speaking English like, it's okay, we'll speak English for you. It's fine that you came to our country and doesn't know how to speak any French. It's fine. So,
I mean, and it's annoying too, right? Like especially when you go somewhere and you're like, hey, can I practice my French with you? And they're like, no, I don't have time for that. We're going to speak English. And okay, so Emily in Paris you found to be okay. You're watching Lupin. Which sort of video do you prefer? The one that's in English in France or the videos that are in French?
I prefer the videos in French only because, so I use this Netflix extension. I think it's like called Learn Languages with Netflix. It's really helpful. And so it has both the English and the French subtitles along with the meaning of the word. So if you hover over the word, it'll pause the show and give you the meaning of the word.
Oh, great.
So so I actually like watching the French version of videos. So.
And do you watch it with English subtitles or with French with English subtitles?
Yeah, because I watch it with both, because like the English is on the bottom and then the French subtitles are on top. So you can actually watch them at the same time.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. I've never used the app before, but yeah, my wife and I, we watch Netflix. We've been watching through a number of French shows lately with English subtitles. She's just learning, you know, and we are, you know, sometimes you just want to chill and just watch something. Like, I don't need something that's really intensively language learning.
Right.
So yeah, you know, if I'm watching with English subtitles and if I'm just reading the subtitles the whole time, I'm not learning a whole lot, but I'm learning something, you know?
Exactly. And when it comes to a show like Lupin, you can't read the subtitles because you'll miss something. You can't just be so focused. So, you know, either you could watch the episode and then go back and read the subtitles, or like watch it again with the subtitles. But what I find is I actually watch the show, even though the subtitles are there. I don't look at the subtitles until there's a scene where I don't understand what's happening. Then I'll look down at the subtitles. But if I can get enough of the context just from what's happening in the scene at the time, then I won't look at the subtitles, because it's like, okay, I understand what's happening. Let's move on.
Yeah, I hear you. Cool. Yeah, and what I've been doing in Thai actually is, first I'll watch, and my Thai is not super great right now, but I am improving very quickly. And what I'll do is watch a show with the English subtitles, and I'm basically just watching it for fun. I'm reading the English. Maybe I'll catch a few words here and there in Thai. But then I'll go back later and watch it with the Thai subtitles. And I remember everything that happened. I remember the conversations they're having. I remember what they're saying. But now I'm paying more attention to the actual language of the show. And it's pretty nice. Did you find Emily in Paris to be beneficial in any way for like learning about the culture of Paris, or like, I don't know, anything like that? Or was it mostly just a fun, entertaining experience rather than educational?
Well, I did learn a little bit about the French culture. I have to admit, what I really enjoyed was watching the YouTube video reactions of the French natives.
Oh, yeah. I've seen a few of those, yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, well, this is how it really is. And that was pretty entertaining. But I actually learned a lot about, the French culture, and just different scenes in Paris, and how different things work, like how the apartments work, and how the ground floor is not the first floor, or something like that. And that was, so I did learn a lot about the culture and the workplace, and it's so different from like American work culture. Like some things we would never do here, but it's so cool. And I'm really into the French culture. So if anything, that show was great for that. And I'm actually looking forward to season 2. I just hope that there's more French.
Yeah. I remember I watched one of those reaction videos by a French native, and she showed the scene where Emily walks into like a, I don't remember, she walks into a boulangerie or something like that. She walks into some store, and she didn't immediately say bonjour. She just started speaking to the person. She was like, "Je voudrais un pain au chocolat." And the person was reacting to this, and she was like, "She didn't say bonjour." Like, what's wrong with her? She's so rude, And yeah, that's funny. I did a study abroad in Paris one semester, and that was the first thing they told us. They said, if you go into a store, or if you go into a restaurant, or you go to talk to someone, the first thing you have to say is bonjour. Otherwise, you're very rude. Big faux pas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I learned definitely a lot about how to approach French natives. And even in that same scene, I think Emily was saying like un pain chocolat, and the lady was like, it's or something like that, So they will correct you. Yeah, but it's okay. Just that's something to look forward to. You may be corrected. So
yeah, and sometimes those little corrections can be seen as like a blow to our ego, or something like, oh no, I made a mistake. I made a fool of myself. But a huge part of language learning is just learning to be okay with that. In fact, I know you're doing the 30-day record yourself challenge, right? And
yes.
I'm concurrently doing that, and just also this goes along with just in general having a YouTube channel dedicated to French. Anytime you speak a foreign language on a video or to another person, you're just sort of putting yourself out there for criticism, like you are showing your vulnerabilities. And, and so going back to the 30-day record yourself challenge, how's that been going? Is it tough?
Yes, it's tough, but it's been great. So I'm doing the beginner challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all I can handle, because the would you rather challenge,
Oh
like the
yeah.
conditional verb form,
Yeah, that
I
one's pretty
just
advanced.
yeah, I just can't. I
Mm-hmm.
can't. I'm actually working with my italki tutor with that right now, and it is a challenge. I'm always forgetting some part of the word, some syllable of the word. It's
Yeah.
so important. And so I hope to do the would you rather challenge in the future, but
Mhm.
just right now I'm going to stick to the beginner one. But
Yeah.
it's been great. It's been really, really great. And I have actually been wanting to do this challenge for a long time, but I've been putting it off because I didn't really feel like I was good enough to do the beginner challenge.
Mhm.
And yeah, but what I realized is if I continue to wait for myself to be good enough, then I was never going to do the challenge.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and that's 100% the entire point of the challenge, is to show yourself that you are ready. You know, maybe you're not ready to speak perfectly. You'll never actually be ready for that, right?
right.
I don't speak English perfectly, you know, but there's just a certain level of confidence that comes along when you take that first step out of your comfort zone. I call it the silent box. That's my new word for this. You know, where you're studying alone in your room by yourself, maybe with an italki tutor or something here or then. And even that is mostly in English a lot of times. When I first started using italki, I spoke 90% English with my tutor, you know, and like 10% Thai. Um, and then people are just really nervous about speaking because it's scary. Um, but I've seen your videos and you do fine. You know, there's
Thanks.
absolutely nothing to be ashamed about or anything. And, you know, I know personally for myself, I make tons of mistakes when I speak Thai. I put videos up and instantly people are leaving me corrections and I'm like, oh, you dummy, you know. But
Yeah.
that's what it means to be a language learner. You know, we make mistakes, and that's okay.
Yeah, it is. I actually I don't mind the corrections as long as you're nice about it. I don't mind the corrections. Yeah, and the great thing about uploading this to Instagram is that, I have connected with a lot of French online tutors or teachers
Mm,
through Instagram. And I think one left me a comment the other day. She was saying that the word trope, like don't say the P, because there's a ton of silent letters in
yeah,
the French language. And I was like, thank you. I was like, I'm not offended at all. Thank you. Like, please continue to leave comments, because that's the purpose of me putting this out here. Because other than speaking with my italki tutor once a week, I don't get any French practice.
mm,
And my italki tutor, she is French all the time. There's very little English, kind of the opposite. It's like
good.
10% English
Yeah,
and 90% French. So,
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I always find it funny when people leave me corrections to my videos and they started off with this long apology. I'm so sorry to bring this up. I hope you don't mind me correcting your mistakes. And I'm like, no, that's literally 50% of the reason I'm making this videos is because I know
Yes.
I make mistakes and I want to be corrected. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to continue making these mistakes. But I understand like being cautious. You don't want to just go out and blatantly start telling people that they speak so poorly and everything. But I don't know. I just find it funny. So what have been some of the biggest struggles you've encountered with learning French?
Oh my goodness, there's been so many. Well, the biggest struggle has been myself.
Mm,
I am my own worst critic in everything. And yeah, I just am. I'm my own worst critic. And actually, learning French has taught me that I don't have a lot of confidence in myself.
mm.
And yeah, my French teacher says that I'm a perfectionist, but I don't want to admit it. But maybe I am.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I want to get it right. And when I
Mm-hmm.
don't get it right, then I get frustrated. And
Mm.
so my
I hear.
biggest struggle is myself.
Yeah.
And basically, my tutor told me in the nicest, way possible, is like, if you would just get over yourself, you could
Mm,
actually, because she's, I was telling her, in my mind, I feel like I'm an A0. And she
mhm.
started laughing. She's like, there's no such thing as an A0. It only goes from A1 to C1. And she's like, and I was like, I know that's the point. I feel like I'm an A0.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
she, and I was joking, but she took that so seriously. And she's like, no, you are, in my opinion, you are an A2 B1. And
Mhm.
that was such a confidence boost for me,
Yeah,
B1 really. So yeah, my biggest struggle is myself.
yeah. Well, I've seen your videos, and most of the time when you comment on my videos, it's all in French, and I would say that your tutor is probably right on as far as your French goes. Um, yeah, but sorry, I had something that I was going to say and I forgot. uh, yeah, the inner critic, that's huge, and I find a lot of people do kind of underestimate their ability to speak a language. And I think a lot of that has to do with this misconception we have of people who are bilingual. You know, and I might be guilty of this too. I tell people I speak or I'm learning. I usually tell people I speak 4 languages, French being one of them. My French is far from perfect. Okay. So I hope I'm not giving people the wrong impression when I say I speak French. The fact of the matter is I do speak French. Okay. I just did a live stream, an hour-long live stream entirely in French. That's what you call speaking French. I don't know what it is if it's not speaking French. Did I speak perfectly? Not by any means.
I
Okay,
understood it.
yeah. Yeah. See, you understood. But I made mistakes. I have an accent, right? Sometimes I was searching for words that I just couldn't think of. So I either gave up or had to say it in a different way. Sometimes I use one word that I think means something and it in fact means something else. Sometimes I use Spanish words or Esperanto words by accident. It was by far imperfect French, but I was speaking French. I wasn't speaking English. I was speaking French. So I feel like there is a lot of times a misconception where people think, well, if I I want to be like these other people who speak a language. It means they speak fluently. They can understand everything in a movie. They can have long conversations in French. When in reality, that's, it's a great goal to eventually become C2.
Right.
But, there's a long gradient in between A1 and C2, and all of it is valuable. Once you reach B2, B1, that's a good place to be. You can have conversations at that point, and you can speak French,
Right, right. Yeah. I actually have a problem with telling people that I'm learning French. It's so weird. I have a YouTube channel. I have, it's a small YouTube channel, but, I have it. And I have an Instagram account. But for whatever reason, I can't tell people locally in my everyday life that I speak French. And it's not that I'm ashamed. It's just that for whatever reason, when you tell people you speak a language, they automatically assume you're fluent.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, I'm not
Mhm.
fluent. Or, well, that's such a controversial word anyway. Like, don't say that word. Nobody knows what fluent means.
Yeah, right,
Um,
exactly.
but I'm not fluent, and for whatever reason, people think that. It's like I speak French, yes, but I'm not native or whatever, and so that's why I just kind of keep it to myself, because people don't understand that there are different levels to speaking the language, and I think
Right.
some people feel like either you don't know the language or you're fluent. Like there's no middle.
Yeah, exactly. There's this misconception that language learning is a dichotomy, right? Like there's people who speak French and people who don't speak French, and nothing in
Exactly.
between. you know. Yeah, no, I totally get that. And it is frustrating because people don't understand that, yes, I speak this language, but I'm not an expert, you know. So if you tell me to say, my hovercraft is full of eels. Hey, how do you say my hovercraft is full of eels in French? I'm gonna be like, you know, something with anguille. I don't know how to say hovercraft, and I don't know for sure how to say eels, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, so I fall between the two extremes.
Exactly. And there are, gosh, I have a long list of struggles, and I think I'm gonna have to do a YouTube video on just what I find difficult about the French language.
Mm.
It's, there's a ton of silent letters that are
Mhm.
written, but you never say them, and it's like, well, why are they there?
Or sometimes you say them and sometimes you don't, and you have to know when, you know.
Exactly. And then there's the faux amis. It's like,
Mhm.
blesse does not mean to be blessed. It means
Yeah,
to be hurt,
right.
and like
Yeah.
the word for library is not a library, it's a
Mhm.
bookstore. The word for library is something, it's just,
Right.
it's so confusing.
Yeah, and the word for
um,
library looks like bibliography.
yeah, une bibliothèque, and
Right.
it's just, it's so weird, and it's great, but you have all these things masculine and feminine, and then
Mm.
there's the whole thing about you have to be a math wizard just to count from 70 to 99.
Right.
Like you need a math degree to be able to count past 70. You really
French, yeah,
do.
French numbers are ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And then there's the liaisons and liaisons, and then it's like you have the needed H and the aspirated H. So sometimes you use the liaison and sometimes you don't. It's a lot.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, you know, and people who have never tried learning a language before, a lot of times don't realize. I remember thinking that learning a foreign language would be as simple as just learning a different word for every word in English. You know, like, oh, okay, well, here's the word for dog, and then I learned the French word for dog, and then I learned the French word for house, and then I learned the French word for go and eat and see, and then I've like, but no, it's you have to learn whole new systems, whole new ways of thinking, whole new ways of
Mhm.
conceptualizing the world, on top of all the new words that you're learning.
Yeah, and then surprisingly, what has been difficult for me is pronouncing French words that are spelled exactly like English words.
Mm,
Like like notification is
mhm.
notification. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that's so difficult.
right. Yeah, because you got to train yourself to relearn how to pronounce words that you already know how to pronounce them in your own language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, what motivated you to want to start your own French language channel?
Well, I wanted a way to record my progress,
Mm,
but I was too afraid of doing a YouTube channel speaking French because I was afraid of making mistakes.
yep,
Of,
sounds
of
about right.
course, yeah, so of course I'm not afraid of being on YouTube. I've had my other channel for 5 or 6 years,
Mhm.
but I was afraid of uploading it to YouTube. So I started by making audio recordings on my phone, and the plan was, every 3 to 6 months I'd record myself again just to be able to see my progress. And so I started doing that. And then I was watching other YouTube videos about beginners who were trying to learn French. But what I found is that there were not a lot of videos about just beginners. Most people were already intermediate or advanced.
Mhm.
So I was watching a lot of videos about that. But there was a video that came out in 2018, and it was called Why You Should Videotape Yourself Speaking in the Target Language. And
Mhm.
that was very, very helpful. And so
Mhm.
that video, by the way, it's Je parle de toi.
Je parle de toi.
Yeah.
I speak about you.
Wait, it's your video.
Oh, I was like, oh, this is the name of the channel. That's a weird name. Okay, yeah. Okay, now I understand.
But yeah, so yeah, that video was really, really motivating. It was kind of like, okay, I think you talked about two different people in that video. And you have the people that like record themselves, and then the people that will actually upload the video. And I forget what you call them. It's, it's an older video, but I found that to be very, very motivating. I think you were saying, like, if you're a really bold learner, you will actually upload the video. And I was like, well, I can be bold.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big part of my whole thing is it just takes a little bit of courage. And then once you step out, it's easier than you think.
It is. So watching that video was a huge motivation for me to just finally do it. So, I created my channel, and I think I just did like a quick video about me doing Duolingo. I didn't really show my face very much, but it was just something to like get me started. And then, I posted a video of speaking in French, and the feedback was really good. And yeah, it's really just a way to keep up with my progress and just keep a record of it. I'm not trying to get YouTube famous or anything. It's just something that I upload to whenever I feel like it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. It reminds me very much of my Esperanto channel, which is just something I do for fun. And also because I'm trying to learn Esperanto, and so I speak basically only Esperanto on that channel. And I have received lots of good quality, gentle, kind corrections from people. And I have improved a lot because of that. I've also made some really good friends. It's weird. Before I started this YouTube channel, I never, I didn't have any people that I knew online, but not in real life. And now I have so many people that I talk to all the time that I'm really close to that I've never met before. And I don't know, it's just a cool way. It's a cool way of meeting new people and, being part of a community. So yeah, that's great. Well, I think that's basically it. That's most of the things that I wanted to talk to you about. So thanks so much for coming on my channel. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah. It's funny. I didn't know that story about the video in 2018. In fact, I don't even remember making that video, to tell you the truth. But yeah, that's so funny. So I'm glad that my old videos are helping people be able to move forward and keep learning languages. That's great. Well, anyways, yeah, that's it. So for those who are watching, if you are learning French, or if you're interested in following Rochelle's journey, then you can check out Forever Learning French. And then until next time, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.